Hi guys, this is Vishal. So in this video, I'll explain the JMS connectors available to publish and consume messages from ActiveMQ. First, I will publish messages on demand using REST API in the queue. Later, I'll try to consume that messages first by using consumer and finally by subscribing or listening to the queue using listener component. So let's get started.
So the first component, since we are exposing it to the REST API as HTTP, so we will need HTTP listeners. Again, that's a straightforward one. Let's configure it. Okay, I'll take it 9102, something different port which might not clash with the existing ports. Let's keep that as it's. Here I'll say publish message or publish. Okay, so this is a listener. Okay, we're gonna have some request object. Okay, we will be taking a request object from the request, okay, from the user. So that means it's going to be a post request. So in advance here I will mention method as a post, right? Now we will be taking one request object, so either you can pass that directly to the publisher or we can put it to some variable. Okay, so I'll create a set variable. Message, let's say message. Okay, here also I'll say message, and here I'll be taking it. Okay, it's gonna be a payload, right? So let's switch on the expression mode. This is going to be an input payload, right? So it's a payload, right? Now we will place a publisher. Now within a JMS component we have a one publisher, right? So I will publish it. I'll add a publisher. First important is we have to configure the ActiveMQ connections, okay, because it's running on our machine. Okay, either it runs on your machine or somewhere during the actual scenarios, in the real-time industrial scenarios, it must be running somewhere on the server. You will be getting the details of that connections, either it's SSL connections or something. So based on that we can configure it. Okay, so as of now you can say this is running at this location. So this is the TCP port for my ActiveMQ. So this is the default port 61616 localhost, because it's running on my machine, because we are not going to connect via HTTP, right? It's going to be TCP connections, so that's why it's a TCP. The port is default 61616. So this is, what is it? This is a broker URL. This will help me to connect to my ActiveMQ queues. Okay, so this is what I'm going to use. So here we need to configure the JMS configuration. So I'll click on create. Okay, by default once you go here, there are two types of connection, either ActiveMQ connection or generic connection. Now we will go over ActiveMQ connections and we will configure our own. Okay, so I will change name first to ActiveMQ config. Okay, now I will switch to ActiveMQ connection. The moment I change to ActiveMQ connection, there are three libraries which is required. Okay, two are optional, one is necessary. Okay, ActiveMQ KahaDB, ActiveMQ broker, or ActiveMQ client. Okay, ActiveMQ client is essential when you are trying to connect to the queues which is external or which is not in memory queues. Okay, right now the ActiveMQ server we are running, it's not in memory. Okay, it can be run on the different server and we can connect, right? So there we use ActiveMQ client. As of now we want to go with the client. That's what we do on, because this, the queues are not, assume that queues are not on our machines, will be somewhere running. So we'll be using ActiveMQ. So we need to have this jar. As of now I have this jar given, that's why it's showing. or you can simply configure it. Okay, here right now I have given, that's why it's showing modify. So let me go ahead and remove this configured library. Okay, I'll remove that first so we can add it again. Okay, now we don't have this library. Okay, so I will download it. Configure, click on configure. There are three ways: recommended libraries, if you have, use from the local one, or add a Maven dependency. Best way, whenever you want to have some libraries, go with the Maven dependency. Just add to Maven dependency. It will show which version and which jar it is requiring. Okay, so it requires ActiveMQ client with version 5.15.4. so it will automatically install this. So you just click on finish. So it will install that library. It will configure it. See, it has taken that library. Okay. Now we already talked about the specification caching, so we will go with the default one, JMS 1.1, and the default caching. Right now, connection details. The username was admin. The MQ, these are the MQ details, right? The ActiveMQ server which is running on my machine. Username in admin, password is also admin. Client ID I'm not setting, I don't want it. Okay, now connection factory. Okay, factory configuration is the first one I'm going to use. I'll click on edit in line. Okay, it will open few fields. Okay, the broker URL. Now you can see that internally. Okay, I'll take this value and put it here. You can see, so this is the default broker URL. You can see this is VM, this is in memory queue. Okay, this is going to be in memory. So by default, if you don't give any broker URL, that means if you're not connecting to the any active external ActiveMQ servers, MuleSoft will take care that MuleSoft it internally will create its own queues in memory. Okay, and it's setting that it's not persistent. Okay, so if you restart the application, the queues will be disappearing. Okay, so by default but I don't want to use in-memory queues. I have my server running. Okay, I have my queues, so my queues are somewhere here. So this is my broker URL, so I will be using this. So I'll copy this and I'll paste. Okay, so I'll remove this, I'll put it this. Okay, this is my location. There are some of the properties along with this broker URL. Is this initial redelivery delay. Okay, in case when you publish the message it fails to redeliver, what should be the initial redelivery delay? Okay, you should wait for the 5 seconds, 10 seconds and all. Okay, then overall what should be the delay between the two redeliveries? Okay, then how many maximum redeliveries? Okay, this value you should set to some defined value. Okay, why am I saying that? This is going to be a problem with the poison message. What is poison message? That you publishing a message on a queue, okay, and there is a consumer, and there is terribly wrong happening at the consumer side, and the consumer is not ready to respond with the acknowledgement. And what happens if we don't set this max delivery? Then it keeps redelivering that message at indefinite times. It keeps goes on the infinite loop. So we don't want to do that. If tries for 2 or 3 times, and if it fails, we'll stop at that place itself. Okay, so I will set for the 3 values. This is done. General config, the encoding stubs will remain the same. We'll click on OK. Now we are using publisher. Okay, we are going to publish the message. So just again, along with this JMS configuration in a publisher, we have to configure few more things. So okay, so destination is nothing but the queue name. Where are you going to publish the messages? So this is my queue. Okay, p_queue. So I will write here. Okay, since this is a queue, so destination type will remain the same. In any message, when you publish, there are some properties from JMS which goes along with your own message. Okay, let's say now what we're going to do is that we created one queue. that is p underscore q, that is a product queue. So we will be passing product related details. So product id, first parameter, then we have product name, second parameter, then we have a price, then we have those values we're going to be pass as a message to the publisher, okay, in a queue. We'll publish that message in a queue. Then we have a company name, company location. These are the different values. So this bunch of values will be a single object, okay, the single message object that will publish to the queue, okay. So along with these values, some other values goes that will be added by JMS. What are those values? If even you don't add that values, it will be default given something. One is, if you go down here, the message, this is the actual body, this is a body, whatever you want to pass. So by default it uses payload, but I kept my payload in the variable, so I will be using that variable. So vars.message, right? So along with this message, some other types goes like JMS type, correlation ID, content type, okay. If you go down again, so these are the different types, okay. What is a JMS type? You can have some identifier over here, you can go for the help. The default identifier, what is the type of message? Now it's a product type of message, so you can set it over here. The correlation ID, even you don't set that, there is some default values taken by JMS, okay. Then content type, what is the type of that message, okay. So by default it says it's a JSON, okay. Now here see, you can see it's a JSON. If it is XML, then you have to set it over here. It's like XML, it's CSV, or whatever is Java or something, okay. Since it's JSON, so we'll set it to JSON. Even if you don't set it, it will by default accept the JSON, okay. Go down, use properties, that's not helpful, okay. Now here in the publish configurations, there are different parameters, you can set it over here. One is a persistent delivery, okay. True, false expressions, based on the expression we can set. Then what is the priority to for the messages to send, okay. You can set the priority for the publisher. Time to leave, you can set it over here. You can choose for the seconds, okay. I will say 10 seconds, it should, that message should leave, else it will disappear, okay. Now again, disable message ID, these are some extra metadatas we pass. Delivery delay, again we saw it is used in case if you use JMS version 2.0, but as of now we go with specification 1.1, so we will not need that. Now we created our flow. Eventually we will add a logger saying that message is published. Okay, now we will debug this. So I will add one debug pointer over here and one at here. Not necessary because it will just step over, but let's add one more. Okay, now I will run this. Instead I will debug this. Okay, now we deployed it. I'll open my Postman. Okay, this is going to be my body. I'll pass product name, product ID, type, price, and output. Okay, and here the URL is just publish. Okay, it is a post request. This is the body. Okay, now if I send it, I should come first at this debugger point. Okay, so I'll click on send. I'll come here. Now first I reach at this location. Okay, so if if I go to the debug mode, just give me a minute. I can see this is my message, right? Now I will step over. Step and come to this location, right? Now this is the message. Okay, this is going to be the message. This is a JSON message which I'm going to publish. Okay, now I will publish it. So if I step over, it will add to that publisher. Now it has come to logger. Now if I go to my browser here, if I refresh it, I should see one pending message. See, there's a one pending message. Now we will consume that. There are two ways to get the message or to read the message. One, either you can set the consumer or you can set a listener. What is the difference between consumer and listener is that with using a consumer, you can read a single message at a time. Okay, and this is on demand. Consumer does not read the moment or as soon as you publish message on the queue. However, listener is subscribed to the queue, so it keeps polling to your queue whether the message has come or not, whether the message has come or not. So as soon as it receives, it will listen that. But however, in consumer, you have to request that I publish the message, you consume it. Okay, this is the difference. Now again, since consumer is on demand, we need to expose over REST API, so I will expose it. We can create consumer as a listener as well using the scheduler, so we will see that as well. But as of now, go with the on demand. Then I will use JMS consumer, and we will use logger eventually that whatever the message I'm getting, I will log it over here. So going to be a payload, right? Now here listener HTTP configuration is already there, just have to mention the path. So I will say consume. Okay, in the consumer here connector configuration is same, JMS, the ActiveMQ. Destination where which queue you want to consume. Okay, so it's this queue, right? What is the consume time? It's a queue consumer or a topic consumer. This is a queue consumer, right? Now acknowledgement. What is the acknowledgement mode you want to set? I would set to immediate. You can also set it over here. Okay, you have in a ActiveMQ configurations, we set it over here in the consumer by default the auto. So if you don't set at the consumer level, that's okay. Okay, selector, these are extra metadata you can pass. Content type, again it's application JSON. By default it takes my application JSON. Maximum wait time, how long you should wait for the message before it arrives. Okay, so how long you want to wait? So let's say I want to wait for the 10 seconds. So what it say, maximum wait, okay, for a message to arrive before timeout. So it will time out after 10 seconds. So this I'll change that unique to 10 seconds. Okay, in advance you can say it. See, again this is a target variable option, so this is also a message enricher. So instead of using payload as is, you can set that value in a target variable. Okay, that option is also having. Error mapping is also present in case queues are not queues are down, the SSL the connections is not working, or some problem with the queues, then you might have some error mappings for the queues as for the queue related exceptions. Now we set it, okay, and that's it. Okay, we got it deployed. Now we will publish and we will consume it immediately. Click. You should see the logger that message has published. Okay, message has published. Now I will go and consume it. I will click on consumer. See, I can see that. This is the message which I published, right? This is the same message I'm getting over here. So I could consume that based on demand, because we use consume operation, so it will consume single message at a time on demand. So we have to ask it. Now I will create a flow for this. Here I will configure. So connector configuration I've already taken. The queue is this queue consumer, acknowledgement mode auto. Okay, rest property I'm not giving. Response, okay, this is the response it will send back, because it's something body, it will take the body of the message. And reply to, okay, so this is something it comes in case if you want to reply back when you consume the message. Okay, time to leave, this is the delivery delay, we can set. Okay, what else I want to set over here? These are the optional parameters, either I can set it or leave it. That's by default JMS add it to you. Okay, let's save it. It should be okay. So first just set this is important. Set to the queue, type of the queue, consumer, and acknowledgement mode. Rest values are default, it will be automatically added. In case if you don't add any value, JMS will add it. Now it will keep listening to your queue. Now we will add a logger. You can perform whatever you want the moment you receive it. Okay, it will keep listening. Now I will not use this flow, I will just only publish it. It will automatically be publish listening this. So we will execute now. Okay, now we got it deployed. So we will keep publishing the message. So this time I will add some different values. Okay, okay, this is one message. I'll send it. I'll go back to logger. You should see that message has been published first. It has been published, and as soon as it has published, listener reads it. This is the message, right? Get it? So JMS listener is acting as an input entry point for the queues, for the messages to read out of that queue. And once you read it, whatever your business logic comes after this within your process sections, right? So if I keep adding some extra values, okay, if I add any value over here, okay, so if I try to put one more time, it reads. Okay, again add it, comes. Okay, so this is how, if you keep publishing, if someone else, okay, the publisher and consumer may not be at the same location in real-time application. Your application is publishing message to the queue, and some other application is consuming message from the queue. So your application is nothing but this part, and the other application is nothing but this listener, which keep listening on your queue to read the messages and perform whatever the logic they want to perform based on that message object. So this is very small example and the demo we took about the publishing the message, consuming it, and listening it.